before we went on air tonight, during the first little break there from the news, you brought up the fact that you had been at this New World Fair, and you mentioned Zeitgeist, and I said, what is your view of Zeitgeist? Because I get calls all the time saying Zeitgeist has been seen 50 million times or so. He put me in the first film, put you in the first film. They talk about a master planning computer. We live in these plastic cities. The head of it told me, he said, if I didn't agree with what they wanted, I would be put in re-education. so maybe I do need re-education, but what's your view on that?
I've always been skeptical. I was puzzled. They put me into their first film. That must have been about, what, 2007, 5 years ago now. And the goal of that first film was, they said they wanted 9/11 truth, but then it turned out that they had a double goal. They said, we want 9/11 truth and atheism. And half of that first film is all about atheism, which I find to be a stupid, counterproductive, just wrong approach. It's also, it's offensive, right? What the hell does this have to do with anything? And that was typical of a lot of people who tried to mix in their own pet shtick into 9/11 truth. I haven't really followed them very much since then because I've had a relatively dark view. But I believe they also promote peak oil, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they do. And Z-Day is going to save us. We're all going to throw our money in the water, and then we're all going to live in the plastic city where a computer programmed by Goldman Sachs, but they don't mention that, will tell us what we get. Sounds as close as to hell as we can get.
Yeah, I think as soon as they say peak oil, you can forget it, right? I mean, anybody who promotes peak oil is just, it's so dumb, and it's so obviously inspired by the ruling class, right? It's this group of, again, Darwinians.
They're saying, get ready for austerity, get ready for Malthusianism. You're poor because it's sexy, like the Whole Foods magazines say. It's like
they're it's like a cheering, groupies, cheerleaders for ruling class austerity to say you shouldn't want to have a car, or you shouldn't want to have.
It's like saying the Athenian Navy is too high tech.
Yeah, so I think the Malthusian inspiration for this is obviously a very bad thing. Anybody who professes peak oil is just a crackpot. You can forget them on just about every other issue, in many cases anyway. So I would stay away. The one thing I did notice at this New World Fair event, there were all kinds of people from Zeitgeist trying to organize people, right? They were like missionaries all over this gathering. It was not a big gathering. People can take a look at my website, tarpley.net. I gave a speech which talked about some of these organizing perspectives. In other words, how we got to get ready.
But I thought Z-Day was going to, here's the deal. I invited Peter Joseph as stage name or whatever on like a year ago. I said, look, we fought 5-6 years ago. I want to have you back on. And he said, fine, but you must renounce that I ever said you were going to go to a re-education camp. Or that I would be re-educated. And he sent me the video, and I went and looked at it. Like, he says on the video that, but I was like, he was like, no, I didn't. You must renounce it. And I was like, well, fine. You're all powerful, and everything. I will not renounce it. I will not. I'm a heretic. But he did say that. And I just saw with the communist in people, it was always spaceships and technology and what they do. And, always these kind of promises of heaven, Valhalla. And, I mean, it's a waning thing anyways. It's just that, I see comments, and if you talk about it, the acolytes get very, very angry that you're not following. I mean, look, it sounds like hell to live in some big plastic dome city where a computer decides what you get and what you do. I mean, I'm kind of into free will. I know that's bad, but...
No, absolutely, free will. Free will is the starting point for any reasonable explanation. I would just say maybe this movement is not important enough to be concerned about. The one thing we can say, though, is as the Depression gets worse,
you're going to have more and more groups trying to go to
irrationalist movements of all sorts, and they will become a useful political commodity for the bankers, right? Who can use them, and that's the danger. You don't want to have crazy irrationalist crackpot mass movements.
No, I hear you. Tarpley,